Hey everybody, welcome to our live video. Happy, what is it? Thursday already today. I have had the best week. I have had so many amazing reports of kids getting better and families feeling happier and kids and adults both in our program just getting the most amazing change. And there are so many things that are so important, like the science and the structure and our program and, our ability to do Marco Polos and text people and to go live. And all of that is important, and it's important to people. And I know that it is, but the change that we're getting in our kids and in our adults in program, I'm so excited about it. I just got off a call earlier this morning. Gosh, you guys have been following the story of this. Hey, Kim, thank you so much for joining. We have a family who's been in program for 2 weeks and 2 days. And I talked about them in my last live, and I think I'm going to be bragging about them every single week from here on out. This little girl is so angry. And she was so angry. She's not anymore. She was so angry every single time her mom would come into her room and talk to her and just try to connect with her. She would just dissociate and shoo her, literally with her hands, like shoo her mom away like this. And the most amazing thing has happened this week. And it makes me emotional just to talk about, because I don't have kids. I'm not a mom, but I can put myself in her shoes, I think. And, this little girl connected with her, not only her mom this week, but her sister. I told you guys about how she's been connecting with her mom, and she wakes up and she says things like, "Hey, mommy," and she chats for a really long time every morning. But she also told me a really amazing story this morning, and her sister had a really rough day at ballet. She was just really frustrated with herself and not feeling like she did really well. And this little girl got in her sister's space, which she never gets in anybody's space because she doesn't really care. She's not had the capacity to care about anybody else's space or experience in such a long time. And she asked her sister, "Hey, what's wrong?" And she tried to comfort her sister and be with her sister and just be involved in that moment. And I know that doesn't seem like a big deal to everybody that's watching this, but to this mom and to this family and to this sister, these are such a huge deal. And yeah, Kim, you're right. It is huge. It's so huge. And there are so many kids out there that are struggling with empathy, struggling to connect to other kids, to their family members, to their brothers, to their sisters, to their friends. And it just melted me. I don't even know what to say. It's just so good. It's so good. And, there are so many people out there that are skeptical about what we do and wondering if we're doing the right thing or if it's the right thing for their family. And I get where they're coming from. I do. You have to do the right thing for your kid and your family, and you have to protect your emotions and your response and your hope. You can't get too hopeful about something that's not going to work out, because that makes you resentful of your family and your kids. But I'm just seeing such amazing, huge change in these kids that I just can't deny. And I'm so excited about it, and I want to share it with everybody. So that's why we're here tonight. So tonight I am off my soapbox, and I'm going to talk about 5 things to do for kids that are experiencing the symptoms or have been diagnosed with ADHD. And just so you guys know, this is not just about ADHD. This is autism, OCD, ODD, any of the kids that kind of fall into the right brain delay category of what we do. If they're struggling with emotional connectivity, if they're struggling with boundaries, if they're struggling with understanding the big picture, if they're struggling with understanding concepts of, like their actions and how that's tied to the consequences that you're trying to implement with them, this is for you. And if you know somebody who has a child that is struggling with these things, I ask you to please share this with them, because I think there is so much hope to be had. Every single time I have a call with one of our families, everybody that's in our summer program gets 2 Zoom meetings with me per month. And every single time I do one of them, it makes my day. It changes my whole day. It turns everything around. And I just get renewed in my hope for these kids that are struggling. So 5 things that we can be doing as parents that are struggling with children with ADHD. Let's talk about it. Let's get into it. All right. So number 1, The left hemisphere is responsible for short-term attentional networks, and the right hemisphere is responsible for long-term attentional networks. And Kim, I cannot wait to talk to you more either. It's going to be awesome. I'm so excited for your kids. But left hemisphere, short-term attention, right hemisphere, long-term attention. And the same thing applies to rewards. So often with our kids in our program, I have learned and I have noticed and experienced and kind of walked some parents through this. Kids with a right hemisphere delay. So if you've got a diagnosis like ADHD, OCD, ODD, anxiety, or autism, and kind of really anything in between that's not a necessarily learning disability like dyslexia, dyscalculia, dyspraxia, dysgraphia, or a processing disorder, kids with a right brain delay respond really, really well to short-term rewards. So things like, if you do all of your exercises in our program really, really well this week, then we can go to the park. Or if you do awesome for 6 months, then we'll go to Disney. I've had a few parents try that and it just doesn't work because it's not short-term enough. Just like the reward system works, the process of helping kids understand the consequences and the rewards of their actions is so much more tangible for them when it's short term. So I tell all of the families in my program, and if you're in my program, I hope you've heard me say this, but I'm saying it now if I haven't said it before. Put a sticker chart up. Like every single time they do a single exercise, they do finger touches, they do palmar squeezes, they do starfish, they do Supermans, whatever it is, they get to take a sticker and physically put it up on a sticker chart. And it's so good for them because they have a tangible thing that they can do. And if you say after 5 stickers, we're going to do something that you like. Or if you get all of your exercises done today, you get more screen time. Or because screen time is terrible, but exercises are a great motivator to get exercises done. So I have a family that's using exercises as a get out of jail free card. All of those things are great things because they're super tangible. They're super right in the moment. It's not, you have to wait 6 months because it's so intangible for these kids and it's so hard for them to just kind of conceptualize because they have a hard time understanding the big picture. They have such a hard time understanding how their actions are related or correlated to the consequences, good or bad. I'm not just talking about bad consequences, but with good consequences, they have such a hard time understanding consequence versus their actions. So if we can give them super short term, you get done with one single exercise. You get your palmar squeezes done, you get to put a sticker up. And when you get 15 stickers, we're going to go to the park, or we're going to give you ice cream, or you get to play Mario Kart for 15 minutes. Whatever it is, whatever works for your child. And we can talk about this individually. If you're in our program and this is resonating with you, you're just not sure how to implement it, please send me a Marco Polo. I know I'm saying this all the time, but we can work this out and we can make this happen for your child. So short-term rewards is my number one thing for kids that are struggling with a right hemisphere delay, which most of you showing up on these kinds of things, your child is very likely struggling with a short-term reward right brain delay issue, okay? So the second thing that I want to talk about, I know we spent like 10 minutes on the first one, but the second thing I want to talk about is one step at a time. We know children that have a right hemisphere delay issue struggle with multiple step directions. And that's so frustrating. And there's so much work that we can do inside of our program that's going to help them understand multiple steps at a time. But until we get to that place, and if you're not engaged in our program yet, that's okay. But one step at a time is going to help them so much. Don't even say, I want you to go upstairs and grab your backpack and put your shoes on. Say, I want you to go upstairs and put your shoes on and come back down to me. And then say, I want you to go upstairs and grab your backpack and come back down to me. Because they need your support. They need your direction. They need your voice and your control between every single step of the way. So giving them one step at a time, one very specific, one very individual step at a time. I don't want you to say, I want you to go upstairs and get dressed. I want you to say, I want you to go upstairs and put your underwear on. I want you to go upstairs and put your pants on. And then I want you to come back down to me. And then I want you to go upstairs and put your shirt on. And then I want you to come back down to me. And I know that sounds exhausting. And I know that sounds like so many steps. But think about what your mornings are like. You're saying go upstairs and do all these things. And you're expecting your child to do 10 steps, brush their teeth, brush their hair, put their underwear on, put their pants on, put their shirt on, get their backpack, make sure their folder's in there. You're asking them to do all of these things, and then none of it gets done because they're so overwhelmed by all of these things. And we talked about anxiety just a few, maybe like 1 or 2 lives ago. So go back and watch that if this sounds like your child. But giving them one step at a time will reduce so much of the tension in themselves, in yourself, and in your family's household dynamic as you go through, especially with school mornings. I know we've kind of passed that point, but I know for so many families that are in our program, the school morning dynamic is so yeah, they walk out to the school bus without shoes. What is that? Why is that happening? Because you didn't give them exact, very specific instructions. Thank you so much, Kim, for saying that. You're totally right. If we don't give them step-by-step instructions, they're going to miss out on pieces of this until we stimulate the right hemisphere enough that they can think through the consequences of not putting shoes on before they leave for the bus. Okay, so that's my soapbox on number 2. Number 1, short-term rewards. Number 2, one very singular step at a time. And then number 3 is I want you to give them very, very specific instructions. So don't leave anything up to inference at all. Don't say, I want you to go get ready for school. Don't say things like, I want you to go get yourself ready to leave. Or I want you to go get yourself ready to go to the birthday party. If you leave too much for inference, the right hemisphere is responsible for making inferences. So if you leave anything up to inference, kids that have issues with ADHD or autism or OCD or ODD or anxiety are going to really struggle with what exactly you mean by that. So don't leave anything up for inference. Be very, very specific in your instructions. So 1-by-1 instruction is very important, and also very wildly, literally inference leaving out inference is so important for your kids. So number 1, short-term rewards. Number 2, one step at a time. Number 3, make every single instruction you give incredibly specific. And number 4 is negative reward works best. So I know this is hard, and I know the word negative itself is very difficult, but negative reward works a lot better for kids that have a right hemisphere delay. So if your child is genuinely struggling with learning, with processing, you think they're not really connecting with where you're at in the moment, that's a different conversation we need to have. But most of the kids that are in our system and in our program and that are reaching out to us and are liking our page and following what we're doing, they have a right hemisphere delay. So they're going to respond better to negative consequences rather than positive consequences. So a great way to work on this is if you don't get all of your exercises done, you don't get any screen time today. If you get all of your exercises done, you do get screen time, but you want to frame it up as if you don't do this, then you don't get this. That works better. I promise you, I know it seems mean and I know it seems harsh, but if you do this, you will have more success in getting your child to engage in the things that you want them to engage in. And for all of my clients, you've been here, you know this, you have to give them negative consequences. So I think screen time is a great one because all of our left brain strong kids and our right brain weak kids want screen time. They want to watch YouTube. They want to play video games. They want to watch a movie. Say, if you don't get 3 sets of exercises done today, then we can't watch a movie. I'm so sorry, but those are just the rules. That's just the way that it is. That will help them so much get through those tasks that you want them to do that they just don't want to engage in. Okay. So number 1, short-term rewards. Number 2, one step at a time. Number 3, be very, very specific in your instruction. Number 4 is negative consequences work a lot better than positive consequences. And number 5 is questions, not statements. So I talked to Mike a little bit about this before I went live to make sure that I was giving you guys the absolute best advice, because there are so many complexities in ADHD and autism, and like I've said so many times in this live, everything in between. There are so many complexities in right brain strong versus left brain strong, and all this kind of diversity that exists even in just right weak kiddos, which I think applies to most of you that have joined this live. But kids with a right hemisphere delay crave control. They need to feel like they're in control. They need to feel like they have choices and that they have a voice. So instead of saying, I need you to go do this right now, that is most of the time not going to work with a right brain delay kid. And anybody that's on this live that has a right brain delay kiddo has been there. You try to tell your kid what to do and they're like, not doing it. Absolutely not. Because it's interfering with some other different picture of their day that these kids had. So one of the examples Mike gave me that I love so much, because I was just asking, for examples on how to talk to kids. He said, instead of saying, hey, stop doing that, you can't do that anymore. Whatever they're doing, if it's something crazy, if they're going to hurt themselves, don't say, hey, stop doing that. Say, what do you think might happen if you keep doing that? And I just had a conversation with a right brain delay kiddo, I want to say about a month ago. And the same thing happened. He was climbing up on something that he shouldn't have been on. He was doing something that he shouldn't do. And I knew he was going to get hurt if he kept up what he was doing. And I said, hey, I need you to get down. You're going to hurt yourself. It's going to be bad. You're going to break an arm. Like, he was way up high where he shouldn't have been. And he didn't respond well to that at all. Imagine that. But I kept asking questions, and I said, what do you think will happen if you fall from such a tall height? Do you think you might break a bone? Do you know what it's like to break a bone? Do you know what happens when bones are broken? Do you know what the healing process is like? Do you know what happens when you have to go to the doctor and they have to reset your bone? And he's only 6 years old, but he really started to engage with the process. And after, I would say it took about 8 minutes of him standing on this very high structure and me asking a lot of questions, he decided, I don't think I'm going to do this. He said out loud, I don't think it's really worth it to be up here, because instead of exerting my own control over him, which almost never, sometimes it does. Sometimes kids with a very overactive left hemisphere respond really, really well to control. So I'm not saying this is true for everybody, but so many kids that have an overactive left hemisphere need to feel in control of their own experience. So what happens is, if you try to exert your own control over them, they're going to get really angry and really frustrated and really defiant. So instead of saying, you have to get down, you absolutely have to get down from where you are, because internally I know you're going to hurt yourself, by saying things like, what do you think is going to happen? And I know you have a really exciting trip to go see your friends or your cousins really soon. And how do you think that your experience of falling will impact your ability to go see them? What if you break your arm? What if you're in the emergency room? What if they have to reset your bone? All of these questions help them understand the full consequences of their actions without telling them exactly what to do. Because kids that have an overactive left hemisphere often have such a crazy need for control that as soon as we as adults start to exert our own need for control over them, they just shut down, they check out, they're not going to really engage with you anymore. So by asking questions and giving them an opportunity to come to the right answers on their own, because they're very intelligent kids, we give them the freedom to make good choices on their own. So those are my 5 tips for parenting kids with ADHD. I know it's a lot. Number 1 is short-term and also visible rewards, giving them something that they can see. If you're gonna entice them with a snack or a treat or a sticker, you want to make that thing big, huge, right in their face. They can't deny it at all. It's right there. If they don't get a sticker, it's in their face every single day. If they don't get to eat a snack, that snack was sitting there on the table waiting for them to eat it, but they don't get to eat it because all their siblings are eating it instead because they didn't do what they were supposed to do. Number 2 is 1 step at a time. Number 3 is be very specific and leave absolutely nothing up to inference. Number 4 is negative consequences instead of positive consequences. And number 5 is questions, not statements. So just like we talked about, you want to make sure that we're asking questions, letting them come to their own conclusions about what's right and what's wrong, what's safe, what's not safe, because they're very intelligent and they don't need us to tell them what to do. And as soon as we try to tell them what to do, they're going to get pretty oppositional. So those are my 5 things that I would say any parent who's dealing with ADHD needs to start implementing tomorrow. And I know that's a lot, and I know that that's really difficult. So if you have questions about this, if you want to talk about this, we're offering consultations for absolutely free at any time. You can talk to me directly for 45 minutes, absolutely free. And we'll just talk about parenting hacks and tips and what we know about their brain, and I'll ask a lot of questions and give you some tips that you can start implementing pretty much immediately the next day. That's going to help your child have a much bigger, brighter, more amazing future than what you might see for them right now. And I know that that's a hard conversation to have, but I'm here for you guys. I love you guys. I just wanted to make sure that you all knew we have 2 spots left in our summer program that are 50% off. So our summer program is open all the way through the end of June, but I have 2 spots left at 50% off. So anybody that is thinking about this, wondering about this, go ahead and book a consultation. When you book a consultation, you lock in your spot for a 50% off offer. So you can book a consultation and 5 people can book a consultation after you, but the next 2 people who book right now will have an opportunity to get in at the thank you so much, Kim, that is so sweet of you. But anybody that books right now has the opportunity to lock in their spot at the 50% off, because I want to make sure that whoever is into this, believing in us, and believing in this science, has an opportunity to get in at that awesome 50% off mark. So another thing that we're offering for anybody that's on the fence, they're not 100% sure. Thank you, Kim. You were so sweet. Anybody else that is like, I'm not sure about this, I'm not sure that my child might benefit from this, we're offering a $77 Facebook challenge. So beginning on, I think it's, June 1st. So I want you to take Memorial Day to get acquainted with everything that we're doing, get acquainted with the Facebook group. But on June 1st, we are launching a Facebook group for the first 2 weeks of our program that we're offering for just $77. So it's $500 worth of information. It's awesome. I'm going to be showing up in that Facebook group every single day for 2 full weeks, making sure that you're getting everything done. And I know you are going to see huge change in those 2 weeks, because we have so many clients that are just getting massive, absolutely ridiculously incredible results in the first 2 weeks of our program. So I just want to get that information out there. I want to make it available to absolutely everybody. So if you're not sure about this, if you're not sure if this is going to be effective for your child or your family, I want you to join that group. It's only $77. Like I said, I'm going to be here in that group every single day, making sure that you guys are getting your stuff done. But I know that if you join, if you stick with it, if you do the exercises, you're going to see huge change. So I'm really excited about that one too. But I'm so excited. All of our families are getting huge change. I don't know if I've talked about this in the past, but when I first launched our online program, I didn't know what to expect. I had families contacting us from Washington State, and I live in St. Louis, saying things like, hey, what can you do to help our child? And we have a friend who heard you speak at a conference, and I want your help, but I don't know how to engage with you guys, because we only had physical locations at that time. And I just said, I don't know. I literally said, I don't know, but you can, I'll do Zoom meetings with you. And I just kind of threw out a price, and those people got such crazy change in such a short amount of time that I thought, this has teeth to it. Whatever we're doing here in these online sessions, maybe taking it step by step, piece by piece, instead of just throwing people into it head first, has some teeth, and we can really get kids better this way. Because the change that those first 3 or 4 families saw, I was like, this is insane. I didn't realize we could get this kind of change from people. So I love what we're seeing in our online program. I believe in it. And as I tell pretty much everybody that does our program at some point, if there was something better that we could do, some way to get kids better in a faster way, in a cheaper way, in a more effective way, in a more accessible or affordable way, I would do that. I would just leave and do that. But because I own Delta and I have a lot of control over what we do in Delta, I can just say, hey, I want to incorporate that in Delta. The only thing that I care about is getting kids better and helping families feel hope and joy and peace in their homes. And it's just been so rewarding and so incredible seeing so many families in our summer program especially get that thing that they were looking for. So I have a lot of confidence in our online program. And if this is something that you're thinking about, if you're not sure about it, we do consultations for free all the time. There's no pressure. I'm not going to try to sell you anything. If this is something that will help your child, I want you to get on it and get on it as soon as possible, because the change we're seeing in kids is just absolutely incredible and crazy, and I'm so excited about it, and I just want to share it all the time. Me going live 2 times a week is like really me toning it down, because the change and the progress is so incredible. So anyway, that's my soapbox for tonight. I hope you all have a fabulous Thursday and a great Memorial weekend. Kim, I will shoot you a text really soon, and I will talk to all of you guys later. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and I will be live, I think, again on next Monday, but I will, like always, make a Facebook group, an event, and make sure you guys all know about what is coming up soon. So have a great night. I will talk to you later. I love each of you and all of you. Bye, you guys.